How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's LorOnline here again today with another video, and today I'm going to be doing 50 little ideas that could improve Star Wars The Old Republic as an MMO. Before we start, I'd just like to say I'm only going to be going over little changes, so nothing too big. These are just quick things the devs can do to up the game's quality, so sit back and prepare yourself for some serious Star Wars content. Starting off the video today, we have advertisement chat. Now, advertisement chat I feel would benefit the game significantly because, as you know, at the moment, Gen Chat is always being spammed with guild recruitment messages, MMO cat farming sites trying to tell everyone in Gen Chat that they have something to sell or something to offer them. I feel that perhaps an advertisement chat would significantly improve the game because it would reduce spam in Gen Chat, and of course if people then started to continue to spam their guild recruitment messages in Gen Chat, you could report them for spam. So having a channel specifically set aside for guild recruitment, I feel, would significantly improve the game's current spam issue. The current preview window we have in Star Wars The Old Republic at the moment is very small, and if you're trying to view an animation, there is no way of actually toggling the animation on or off. So what I'd suggest doing is having a toggle button for all decorations with animations, so we can take a quick look at what the animation actually looks like. On top of that, a lot of the decoration items as well in this premium game are bugged out, so they need to sort of try and fix as many of the animation bugs as possible to make this decoration preview window a little bit more acceptable. Following the same train of thought, I feel there should be an emote preview window as well. Basically, when you go to the GTN and you control click on something, it should do a quick animation in your preview window so you can get a better idea of what the emote looks like without having to tab out and actually look up the emote for yourself. Going back to Strongholds, I feel it is mandatory that the devs actually add a sort function to the decoration window, so you don't have to go through technology, you don't have to go through utilities and all the various other tabs. There should be a sort function there for something such as most recently added decor, so you can see basically the decor based on their release dates, so people who want to get the newer decor don't have to scroll down for ages looking for this newer decor. They can just sort function it and then find it almost immediately. Next up, we have dyeable mounts. At the moment, the cartel market in general is covered with retextures of the exact same mount but in a different color. I'd like to think that perhaps people could just buy a mount and then it'd be dyeable, so people could have any color they want. We know this system could work because they've done it with armor sets already, so what I want them to do is do the exact same thing with mounts, so we can dye our mounts any color we want and then just be happy that we have a unique mount. Simple as that. Throwing another little idea in here, I think they should perhaps remove hooks entirely from Strongholds. At the moment, Strongholds have these specific plots where you have to put items down, whilst competing MMOs such as WildStar and Elder Scrolls Online follow homestead systems that allow the player to just put items wherever the hell they want. I think Star Wars The Old Republic should adapt on this and try and do something along those lines. At the moment, we know for a fact that the engine can handle it because Elder Scrolls Online has the exact same engine as Star Wars The Old Republic. It's the Heroes engine, but they have a few modifications on it. So I think perhaps that maybe they should consider trying to follow more in ESO's footsteps and have a system where you can just place any item wherever the hell you want in your stronghold. I feel, personally, that would be much better. Focusing in now on more so the third-party policies that BioWare have implemented for the game, I think perhaps they should lift those a little bit so people such as third-party developers for add-ons and other UIs and such can easily implement their software into the game with little to no effort. I like the idea of perhaps having a system where you can just drag and drop a RAR file, and there you have it. You've got yourself an add-on, or you've got yourself a UI. You don't have to go into the game files and faff around a lot. You can just basically install add-ons with a little to no effort. It's something that Star Wars The Old Republic definitely needs to consider. Next up, we have the free-to-play model. I think they should change it completely, because at the moment, players are crippled for not paying towards the game, and I don't think that's the right attitude to have to potential subscribers. What we should be doing is giving them all the content up to 50 for free, letting them play as much as they want, and then the second they hit 50, they can't level up anymore, and you have to basically subscribe if you want to continue any further. I think that's a really nice system to have. It gives them a taste of the game. It doesn't really reveal to them any of the DLC content that Star Wars The Old Republic has come up with. That is sort of my idea anyway. You should make it so free-to-play players aren't crippled, they are encouraged to continue playing. So that is why they should change the free-to-play model. Coming up at number 42, we have PvP-specific queues. At the moment in the game, we have Huttball, Arena, Capture, and a few other game types. If you queue up for a Warzone, you have a chance of getting any of them, but sometimes there is the odd player who doesn't want to do Huttball necessarily, but they don't have a choice, they have to basically queue up for it. I think the devs should consider implementing sub-queues where you can just queue up for specifically Huttball or specifically Arena or something like that, so you don't have to do all of them if you don't want to. That's just an idea that I think's been laying around for quite some time, and the devs should definitely pick up on it. Following that, at number 41, we should have less servers. I know a lot of you are probably going, no, we need more servers, but honestly, at the moment, the community is spreading thinner and thinner, and they need to sort of half the server amount, save some money there, and focus in more on having big built-up communities on their servers rather than some servers that have like 10 people on Imperial Fleet. You know, that's not really enough to justify the server still being up. It's a high cost for them, and then they could just remove it and move all the players onto another server, which would not only save money, but it would also save time and save resources, and players wouldn't be as isolated. It just benefits the game in general. Jumping into a completely different category here, I think they should add more reputation vendors. I'm sure a lot of you agree when I say that there are not enough reputation vendors in the game. There are too many different forms of reputation, and there are just not enough vendors. I think that perhaps they could consider adding a vendor to planets such as Tatooine, Alderaan, and Quesh, and then adding a new reputation thing to go along with that. And you can basically build up your rep by doing the heroic 2s on those planets, because at the moment they are encouraging us to go back and do all this old content. So why not have vendors on these planets so we can get some unique Tatooine items, or some unique Alderaan house items, or some unique Quesh items? You know, give us incentive to go back and do some of these heroic 2s. Moving on, we need interactive crafting in the game almost immediately. At the moment, we have our companions go out and fetch stuff for us. They come back and they give us like a cookie and some companion gift or some BS like that. What they need to do is they need to have interactive crafting, where if you hit like your first grade or your second grade, you're given a fetch quest and you need to go and get like some specific item from some planet. They don't have to necessarily do too much dialogue there, but it makes the entire crafting system more interactive with the player, and that is more immersive than just clicking and sending your companions out on some stupid quest and then them coming back like 5 hours later being all like, yo, I got you some potions or shit. You know, it's got to be proper. Next up, I think they should fuse Galactic Starfighter with Conquest, because at the moment, Galactic Starfighter isn't even played. No one even bothers with it. Even if it's on the Conquest menu, they sit there, they look at it and go, bonus XP for doing Conquest, don't really want to, so they don't ever do it. There is no incentive to go out and do Galactic Starfighter, whilst at the moment I think they should fuse Galactic Starfighter with Conquest, and at the very end of Conquest, or at the end of the week, there should be these massive Galactic Starfighter tournaments where the people's flagship or the guild's flagship shows up at some random location, and then you have to get all your little fighters out and go beat up the enemy, and that determines who wins Conquest. So it's not all point driven. There is like a little final challenge at the end where all the guilds need to fight it out with their ships, and that would be something that I think personally would encourage a lot more Galactic Starfighter and would definitely improve the Galactic Starfighter system at the moment. Taking 37 on our list today is remove RNG gearing. I don't really think I need to say this, but just don't. Okay, just don't. Taking 37 is a green screen decoration item. It's a really cool concept. I feel that would definitely help people like me make my machinimas. All they need to do is basically have a purple decoration floor item as a green screen, so be able to put up this massive green screen outside of your Nar Shaddaa stronghold on that little platform on its own. Just a recording studio basically, which allows the fan base to make better quality content, which is very important to a game such as Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming at number 35, I feel they should perhaps consider adding a decor vendor on all the planets. Now, I know this sounds a little bit odd, but bear with me here. I think that if you go to Alderaan, there should be a vendor there at the Republic and Imperial base. This is just an example, where you can click on the vendor and buy a whole bunch of Alderaan items for in-game credits, rather than having to wait for their packs to come out and then just buy pack and pack and pack, and they have to go to the GTN and pay like millions for various decorations items. I think there should just be some cheaper items on all the planets that look really nice in your stronghold and are themed specifically for that planet. Perhaps you could implement it in with the reputation vendor theory that I pitched a little bit ago, but something like that basically. At number 34, I think they should just simply pop the inflation bubble. I know this may sound a little bit peculiar, but the best way to do this is to remove gold sites and bring all the packs to the cartel market for about 6 months. That should give time for the currency and the economy in the game to balance out, so everything has a reasonable value again. I just think that would probably be the best approach to take to popping this inflation bubble, because at the moment there are items on the GTN that sell for 100 million to 200 million, and I just think that's ludicrous because no one's going to go out of their way to buy an item of such expense. At number 33, I think there should be more mount drops. Now, the problem with this is we have all these huge operations that have an ops boss, and that ops boss will perhaps drop a mount on the hardest difficulty, but I think there should be more ops bosses dropping more mounts. Whether these are mounts from the cartel market or newly retextured mounts, I don't mind too much, but having more mounts in the game that drop from bosses encourages players to go and fight these bosses and gives them more of an incentive to get up and do more operations, which helps group finder queues and overall just keeps the game going. So more mount drops basically on various difficulties. Moving on now, I think the devs should consider adding cartel coin rewards of a larger scale. At the moment we can sometimes receive 10 to 50 cartel coins from doing daily achievements and boring things such as that. If they were to increase the cap to 200 to 300 cartel coins for some of the more harder achievements, for example nightmare operations, or in this case master operations, then people could receive perhaps 300 to 500 cartel coins for doing these ludicrous tasks. Not only does it give people incentive to do operations, but it also gives people a reward in the form of cosmetic items, which is a much bigger incentive in the game at the moment to do operation content. So that is my motives behind that. I feel it would definitely improve the operation scene as it stands in the game right now. Again, following the same train of thought, I'd like to think the devs would be willing to go out of their way to add new mounts and new armor sets and various things as achievement rewards which would give, even further incentive to go out and get some of these achievements, because at the moment the rewards are things like titles for killing 500 players. I think that's a bit weak. And then for doing all the Ziost achievements, which is crazy, and it's something you can't go back to, but if you do all the Ziost achievements, then you get this little mount that's terrible. They need to really up the incentive to do some of the achievements in the game by offering better rewards, not just titles, but armor sets and mounts and various emotes or decor as well. Moving on now to concept art, I'd suggest to the devs that they add or reveal more concept art that they have for the current items in the game. I know for a fact the Cartel Market has a lot of items that are new, whether it's new art or if it's a new model. I'd like them to consider adding the concept art for those models to the game, reveal them similarly to how they did with the Rackwall event. It encourages a lot of hype, it gets the community going, and just generally encourages positive vibes around the game. At number 29, I'd recommend that the devs add more legacy quests, similarly to the Dreadseed storyline, the HK questline, and the Macro Binoculars questline. I would like to see more quests like that, where as a reward you get a legacy armor piece that looks unique and stunning and would definitely improve the game. There's so much potential for that in the form of the Mandalorian stuff on Denova. They could perhaps add a legacy quest there to unite the Mandalorian clans under Shea Visitor if they rebel. Something along those lines, just some cool little legacy quest that rehypes the community around questing, because at the moment a lot of the quests we obtain are daily runs and they get a little bit dull after some time, and the chapters, the stories arc there is sort of done, so we need to start appealing into new arcs, and that is my interpretation of how we should go about doing that. Next up we have number 28. I think this is more of a niche for me. I'm not sure if many of you will agree, but I think they should add datacrons to the Knights of the Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne campaigns. There are all these little hidden areas that are just really cool in those chapters. For example, the Nathema chapter, there is this huge desolate landscape, all this broken and corrupt terrain, and then they have these huge pillars that you can climb up, but it requires a lot of parkour. I think at the top of these pillars they should perhaps consider putting a holocron or a datacron, and then do the same thing with all the chapters so we can get some more datacrons, make it much more interesting for the player base. And I do enjoy finding holocrons. It might just be something I enjoy doing, but it is the sort of immersive feeling of looking around the Star Wars universe and actually engaging with the terrain, and that is a huge part of the game from my perspective. Keeping to the same premise of having these hidden items within the actual chapters, I'd like them to add lore items to these chapters so we can learn a little bit more about Nathema and Iocath, because at the moment I feel these are missed opportunities. I'm not sure if the devs are planning to come back to them later, but at the moment I'd like to see a lot more lore pushed into the game in solid concrete. Having these just little items that you can interact with that give you a page of text always help the game community sort of understand what's going on and why they're in this environment. At number 26, I think there should be rooms added to the game that are specifically designated for people of higher rank, whether it's high-ranked PvPers or people who have a lot of ops experience from clearing nightmare raids. There should be special rooms allocated to those specific players. So for example, in World of Warcraft, you had these high-ranked PvP player limited rooms that only certain players of a certain caliber could go in. They would be instant locked for all these regular players. And we have the exact same system in Star Wars: The Old Republic with the VIP area. I am of course referring to the bouncer. I'd like to think that maybe in the same area, or of course on the sides of the actual Imperial fleet, there would be rooms with a bouncer that would only let certain high caliber players come in. Now the reason I want this system implemented is for players who have put a lot of work into PvP, or players who have done a lot of work in operations. They deserve a little thank you from the game devs saying, hey, we respect the amount of work you've put into our game, and we really hope that you enjoy this VIP experience just for you. So that's my sort of incentive behind adding these special rooms. At number 25, or the halfway point, there should have a system where you can transfer your guilds from one server to another. Whether or not it's the flagship, the cargo bay and all, they should have a system that allows a player to remove all that from one server to another. I know a lot of people will argue, well, that would break other servers. Smaller servers that can't afford these massive flagships would suddenly receive these guilds that have these huge flagships. I think a GM should have the ability to transfer his guild to another server if his guild is dead, for example, or if the server is, of course, losing more players. He should be able to take his flagship and all the hard work he's done on that and take it to a bigger server like the Harbinger on the US side, or the Red Eclipse on the EU side. Moving on to number 24, I think they should add an appear offline, a do not disturb and away function to the social hub aspect of the friends list. At the moment in the game, you're able to follow a player's every move unless they change their name or change their legacy name. Players can just spam anyone at any time from anywhere, and it can get a bit overwhelming for people that have, of course, got lots of friends in an ops group, or have people that they're in contact with that they don't want to block because they're friends with. But it is possible to just spam someone into the ground with the current whisper system, and I feel adding an appear offline or a do not disturb function would definitely improve that, especially if someone doesn't want to be disturbed. They can just quickly throw on DND and then everyone knows not to message them, and it just makes the entire notification process that much easier. Moving on from that, at number 23, I think they should add guild menus. At the moment, the way of joining a guild, or the conventional way of joining the guild, is whispering a GM or admin and asking for an invite. At times, you don't know who the GM of that guild is, sometimes you don't know who the admin is, and you have to sort of rely on them recruiting you through the recruitment spam system, and that is just as distasteful. So I think they should add a guild menu so guilds can publicly open themselves to anyone who wants to join, and guilds can sort of have a request system where you just click request invite, and then when the GM comes online, he can just accept it, and then you're in the guild. Just a system or a menu of some sort that makes the recruitment process that much easier. Coming in at 22, we have a prestige system based on player ratings rather than quantity. At the moment, the Homestead system in Star Wars: The Old Republic is rather good in terms of its actual ability to contain a lot of items, but unfortunately, we have a system that is purely based off quantity instead of quality when it comes to actually promoting your stronghold. There is a stronghold list, and at the very top of it is a stronghold with the most items, the most prestige, which is a system that I feel is incredibly flawed. I think we should take inspiration from a game such as Trove, where the players can go to the homestead and actually rate the house on a scale of 1 to 5, and if they like the house, they can rate 5, if they don't like the house, they can rate 1, and that should determine the prestige it has on the server. Coming in at number 21, I think they should have a system that allows weapons in costumes. At the moment, you are basically allowed to dress up yourself however you want. You can appear in any armor set you'd like in the game, but as for your gun, you are stuck with the gun you have for leveling. So if you want to perhaps change the appearance of your gun, you have to move and augment your weapon all over again, and there's nothing you can do about it. I feel they should just add the weapon to the customization slot on the costume, and there you have it. You can just put a costume weapon over your current weapon. Coming in at number 20, we have customizable weapons. This is inspired from WoW. I'm not saying to Star Wars that you should go out and bring your legendary weapons into the game. I do not like the idea of them being able to obtain, the black saber or something similar to how WoW got the Ashbringer. That was dumb. But I think we should be able to customize our weapons in a similar fashion regardless. I'd like to think that perhaps we can put a barrel on our weapon, or we can put these tunings on, or the scopes, and just basically have a custom weapon purely created to fit our niche desires. And that should just be a simple customization system that doesn't require that much effort. If you can do it with tuning, then you can definitely do it with the actual appearance of the gun itself. At number 19, we have cartel certificate items that bind to the legacy, not the player. At the moment, if you buy an item with cartel certificates, that item is bound to the player that bought the actual item. But you'd think, cartel market certificates should be legacy based because the actual certificate itself is legacy based, but the items aren't. That's very peculiar. So what I'd like them to do is perhaps make it where you can actually transfer the items you buy with cartel certificates between your legacy. For example, my Revan mask on Loranos, I want to move to Loranos 2, which is my other character that's a Force user, but I can't because the Revan mask is bound to my player, even though I bought it with cartel coins. I'd just like them to implement a system that doesn't bind to the character. At number 18, I feel the game needs to have a system where you can just buy items outright. Rather than going to the cartel market and relying on this stupid gambling system in a PG-12 game, I'd like them to have a system where you can just go to the cartel market, buy an item outright, and then there you go. You've got it. You don't have to go and gamble and throw your money away, and kids who don't know any better don't sit there and throw their parents' money away. There should just be a system that allows players to buy an item outright. And number 17 is a simple request. They need an emote system UI. At the moment, you have to go to the top left corner of the chat window, click emote, and then scroll down all of these stupid emotes. They need to have a UI in place, perhaps a drop-down box on the menu at the very top that has an emote menu, and when you click on that, it shows you all the little emotes you got, and then you can just click them. Easy as that. There shouldn't be this stupid, ridiculous sort function in the top left-hand corner with all this text. They need pictures. They need to show off the actual emote. They need preview windows. I think the best way to do that is adding a UI to the menu at the very top, so people can just quickly select the emote they want. At number 16, it's a rather reasonable request. It's a group finder that will give you a tanker, healer, and 2 DPS. 4 DPS is not really acceptable. At number 15, I'm not sure if you can consider this a small change, but I think it is personally, is to add one scene where your Outlander character remembers their wife/former partner, because a lot of the time your character does not actually reference to the fact that they remember their former lover. There are a few instances, perhaps 1 or 2, but for example, the Imperial agent, if married to Ensign, completely forgets about her, so Reyna becomes this character that's nothing to do with him anymore, and I don't like that. I would prefer that there was a little bit of nostalgia of him maybe missing her just a little bit. Moving on now, I think they should add PvE aspects to homesteads, whether it's clicking a button and having a whole bunch of ads spawn, or going outside, killing a mob, and then getting a decor version of that mob to place in your stronghold. I'd like to think that the devs could just add a system or a PvE aspect to strongholds in general. For number 13, it's interactive stronghold doors. At the moment, when you buy a door in your stronghold, it opens forever and it's stuck open. There's nothing you can do about it. I feel they should add a button on the side that opens and closes the door. Simple as that. Number 12 is a Yavin Temple niche, and that is the Pick Up Yavin Stronghold button. At the moment, when you go to pick up a room of decor, it says it's going to pick up a room, but what it actually does is picks up every single decoration in the stronghold. They need to fix that basically and make it so it's room-based rather than stronghold-based. For number 11, it's make all the original SWTOR chapters for all the classes repeatable. Similarly to how you have the KOTET and KOTEF chapters that are repeatable, you should be able to go back and repeat the Jedi Knight storyline, for example, or the Emperor's Wrath storyline. Basically, they should just make it so you can repeat all the content rather than just the extension or the expansion content. For number 10, I feel they should add a credit feed to collections so you don't have to just spend cartel coins to unlock everything to your legacy. There should be a button there that allows you to spend credits instead of cartel coins so you can unlock everything to your legacy that way. Moving on, I feel that they should add gear rating restrictions to Group Finder. At the moment, anyone at level 70 can just queue up for a veteran Group Finder, even if they're wearing 120 gear. I feel they need to implement a system that restricts that, so people who have the appropriate gear don't get into groups with people that don't have the appropriate gear. At number 8, I feel that they should add more Easter eggs to the game. All game communities benefit from Easter eggs, whether it's through finding them online or going to various YouTube videos or people doing videos about it specifically. Easter eggs just benefit games significantly. They encourage the community to investigate and look around the game even further, encourages the community to get even more invested. It makes people sort of explore the game that little bit more, and that is why I feel that Easter eggs would be a great nod and a good way of giving back to the community. At number 7, it's a relatively simple one. They just need to update the Cartel Bazaar and add the newer packs from Knights of the Fallen Empire onwards to the actual Cartel Bazaar itself, so you can buy these certain items with cartel certificates. That's about it for number 7. Moving on to number 6, they need to add a training dummy decor that you can actually interact with and attack. At the moment, the only training dummy we have is on the ships, or if you go to certain planets like Korriban, there are training dummies out back. They should add a stronghold decoration item that you can actually hit and interact with, that you can put down and then duel. It would just be cooler to have a training dummy in a stronghold as well as a ship. Next up at number 5, we have the SWTOR model viewer. At the moment, World of Warcraft has a model viewer that works very well, and a lot of people use it to make machinimas, and some people use it to get the items up for various guides. I think personally that Star Wars: The Old Republic, or the dev team specifically, should go out their way to create a model viewer for us to use as a community. Coming in at number 4 is a relatively simple one again, and that is just to add the original Tier 2 flashpoints to Group Finder, so that includes Lost Island and Kaon Under Siege, two of the best flashpoints in the game from my perspective, and I'd love to see them in the original Group Finder again. At number 3 again is a rather simple one. It is just to make Knights of the Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne 2-player, so you can invite a friend into your campaign to just basically follow you along. He doesn't have to interact with the story necessarily, just be like a one-player experience, but your friend can come along and join you. I feel that would be just a little bit more fun than having one player run through the entire experience. Coming in at number 2 is an alliance reputation vendor. At the moment, you have the influence of your various companions, but I'd like to see an actual general overall reputation vendor for the alliance that you can increase progressively based on the influence that you've given to your companions or your main characters in the actual alliance. So by increasing their influence, you increase your reputation, and therefore you can start buying unique alliance and outlander weapons. I think that would be pretty damn cool. Finally, I'm going to be moving on to the matter of set bonuses in the game at the moment. As you know, in PvE and PvP, you can get certain set bonuses that buff up your current moves and your existing pool of moves, such as stat buffs, etc. I feel that they should definitely add set bonuses that give you unique abilities. For example, every third hit you have a chance of randomly forced choking. Just add some more interesting moves that could improve the quality of PvE and PvP and give people more of an incentive to get these armor sets. So there we have it, guys. That's all 50 of my little ideas to improve Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now bear in mind that these are little ideas. I'm going to do another video at some point about the bigger picture and bigger ideas such as that. But for now, I'd like to just do 50 little improvements that the devs could perhaps consider to improve the overall game as it stands at the moment. Anyway, that's been my video. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment down below if you'd like to get involved in a discussion. And if you like this video, feel free to hit that like button. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys.